Reptilians, also known as the lizard people, are supposed reptilian humanoids, which play a prominent role in science fiction, ufology, and conspiracy theories. The idea of reptilians was popularized by David Icke, a conspiracy theorist who claims shapeshifting reptilian aliens control the Earth by shapeshifting, taking on human form, and gaining political power to manipulate human societies. David Icke has stated on multiple occasions that many world leaders are or are possessed by shapeshifting reptilian entities. Michael Barkin, professor of political science at Syracuse University, suggests that the idea of a reptilian conspiracy originated in the fiction of Conan the Barbarian, created by Robert E. Howard in his story, The Shadow Kingdom. This story drew on theosophical ideas of the lost worlds of Atlantis and Lemuria, particularly famous occultist Helena Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine, written in 1888, with its reference to dragon men, who once had a mighty, powerful civilization on a Lemurian continent. Howard's serpent men were described as humanoids with human bodies and snake heads, who were able to imitate humans at will and who lived in underground passages and used their shapeshifting and mind control abilities to infiltrate and control humanity. In the early 1900s, American occultist Maurice Doreal, also known as Claude Doggins, claimed that during a 1925 visit to the Great Pyramids of Giza, he discovered a set of ancient emerald tablets belonging to the Egyptian deity Thoth, whom he reimagined as a king of Atlantis. Doreal then claimed to have translated the text, which he published as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean. After this strange apparent encounter, he wrote a pamphlet entitled Mysteries of the Gobi that described a serpent race with bodies like man but heads like a great snake, and an ability to take human form. These creatures also appeared in Doreal's poem, The Emerald Tablets. Philosophical ideas and fiction tend to reveal a lot of truth that reality seems to obscure. Behind every myth lies a truth. Behind every legend is a reality as radiant and sometimes as chilling as the truth itself. Much of what we get from modern science fiction, conspiracy theories, and New Age philosophical ideas comes from ancient mythological stories, folklore, and religious beliefs. Here are some reptilian entities that can be found in comparative ancient mythology from many different cultures. Boreas is the Greek god of the cold north wind, described by Pausanias as a winged man, sometimes with serpents instead of feet. Cecrops is the mythical first king of Athens. He was described as half man, half snake. Chak, the Maya rain god, depicted in iconography with a human body, showing reptilian or amphibian scales, and with a non-human head, evincing fangs and a long pendulous nose. The Dragon Kings were creatures from Chinese mythology, sometimes depicted as reptilian humanoids. Glykon was a snake god who had the head of a man and the body of a serpent. This entity was worshipped by ancient Roman cults and is a prominent figure in Gnosticism. The Gorgons were reptilian sisters in Greek mythology who had serpents for hair, such as Medusa. The Lamia was a child-devouring female demon from Greek mythology, depicted as half human, half serpent. The Nagas are reptilian beings from Hindu mythology, said to live underground and interact with human beings on the surface. In the beginning of the 20th century, archaeologists excavating at Tel Al-Ubed in Iraq made an unusual discovery when they unearthed several 7,000-year-old artifacts which appeared to represent humanoid figures with reptilian features. Some of the figures that were discovered were found to hold a staff or scepter, possibly as a symbol of justice and ruling. Each figurine has a different pose, but the strangest of all is that some female figurines hold babies sucking milk, with the child also represented. as a lizard-type creature. The figurines are presented with long heads, almond-shaped eyes, long tapered faces, and a lizard-type nose. What exactly they represent is completely unknown. According to archaeologists, their posture, such as a female figure breastfeeding, do not suggest that they were simply ritualistic objects, but possible depiction of entities. Whatever these reptilian figurines were, they appear to have been important to the ancient Ubaidian people. We know that the serpent was a major symbol used in many societies to represent a number of gods and entities. I believe the Bible and an apocryphal book found within the Dead Sea Scrolls will give us great insight concerning the identity of these reptilian entities. In the Bible, there is a class of angels called the seraphim. The seraphim are high-ranking angelic beings. The seraphim are described in the book of Isaiah as beings immensely close to the glory of God, whose sole purpose is to display that glory. The word seraphim in the Bible means fiery serpent. In their divine form, the seraphim are described as fiery serpents with wings. This sounds like our traditional depiction of dragons found in comparative mythologies of many ancient cultures. The serpent in Eden was possibly a seraphim reptilian entity that would have been a glorious dragon accustomed to flying. If this is the case, the punishment God gives the serpent for deceiving Adam and Eve makes a lot of sense. In the book of Genesis, God tells the serpent that one of his punishments is that he has to crawl on the ground all the days of his life, no longer flying in his glorious form. There is a book found within the Dead Sea Scrolls called the Testament of Amram, also known as the Visions of Amram. In the Bible, Amram is the father of Moses. In this testament, Amram gathers his sons, Moses and Aaron, to his deathbed and relates stories of his life, providing wisdom and commanding understanding. This document is named for a vision shared during this time. In his visions, Amram accounts two divine figures fighting over the fate of his judgment. Amram inquires about their claimed authority and challenges their rule in his life. The Testament of Amram. I saw watchers in my vision, a dream vision, and behold, two of them argued about me and said, and they were engaged in a great quarrel concerning me. I asked them, "You, who are you?" thus about me. They answered and said to me, "We have been made masters and rule over all the sons of men." And they said to me, "Which of us do you choose?" I raised my eyes and saw one of them. His looks were frightening, like those of a viper, and his garments were multicolored. He was extremely dark. And afterwards I looked, and behold, by his appearance and his face, was like that of an adder, and he was covered with, together, and over his eyes. "This watcher, who is he?" he said to me. "This watcher and his three names are Belial, Prince of Darkness, and Melchiresha." And I said, "My Lord, what rule?" And he said to me, "And all the paths are darkness, and all his work is darkness, and he is in darkness. You see, and he rules over all darkness, and I rule over all light, and all." In his visions, Amram describes two angelic beings arguing over him. He describes their appearance as dark, terrifying, reptilian-looking entities, wearing multicolored garments. It's quite possible that the reptilian gods and entities we find in mythological stories, folklores, and alien encounters are actually the class of fallen rebellious angelic beings known as the seraphim and their Nephilim children. These entities and their children presented themselves as the ruling class of humanity back in ancient times. Perhaps these beings are still among us, not just in their demonic spiritual forms, but maybe even in their physical forms. I hope this topic was very fruitful. Let me know your honest thoughts in the comment section below. If you would like to support this channel, I do have a Patreon. The link to that is in the bio. Please like, share, and comment your honest thoughts. Till next time.
Over 150 countries, and my job was to meet with teenagers who were living in exclusion, who were living in extreme poverty or living with HIV, and write their stories, listen to their stories and write them for UNICEF. And so, I obviously learned so much from these kids. I learned from Anna in particular, who has lived an extremely difficult life. I learned to live each day to its fullest.